Hey y'all, how you doing? Welcome. We're going to be doing a collective reading for the new moon in Taurus tomorrow. I just came out of meditation and I saw the image of a wolf come through. I saw everything being lined up in a very particular way in terms of the moon cycles. I also saw an image from Egyptian mythology, which is that of the scale, and the feather being on one side of the scale, and then when someone would pass over, or cross over rather, they would place their heart on the other side of the scale, and if it was lighter than the feather, then they were able to pass on to the other side, and if it were heavier, they wouldn't be able to, and they would have to regress or go back. So there's the images that came through. We're just going to jump right in and get some beautiful animal energies and oracles and see what the collective energy is for this beautiful new moon upon us. All right, let's see what the animal energy is for this new moon in Taurus. Yes. You know, there's a lot of imagery coming through of soil, gardening, plants, flower, so on and so forth. A lot of that good stuff. Wolverine, a little wolf-esque here. So here's what I'm loving about this right off the bat. So first of all, this is the number 5, right? 5 has been coming up so much for me lately. You know, 5 is the number of change. Also, 5 is the number that I associate with crow energy as well. You know, the Wolverine here, it says fierceness here. I don't know if you can see that, but look at how beautiful this is, especially considering that this new moon is in Taurus, right? Earth signs, Taurus, which is a lot about grounding and stability and things of the 3D realm, right? I love how this fellow here, holding this flaming sword with this fabulous shield, is standing on top of the Wolverine here, right? It's almost as if he is deriving his strength and sort of stabilizing his position. That's what I'm getting, stabilizing his position on top of this Wolverine, right? Now, something interesting is coming through, and we're gonna talk about X-Men real quick. Of course, because you know that Spirit speaks to me in terms of the pop culture. And it doesn't matter if you are or are not familiar, but you know, Wolverine within the X-Men franchise very much embodies rising above your past, surmounting it, right? And coming out of the other side of it healed. And it does speak of also having to heal aspects of your past in order to surmount a lot of those old wounds and patterns and self-imposed limitations, right? I'm getting a specific message to really don't be afraid to question the beliefs that you have held up until now that perhaps you are really holding on to very firmly, okay? Because there is this energy of a foundation shakeup, but in a really positive way, right? If we're holding on to a belief very firmly, right, we could say stubbornness, because Taurus is a fixed sign, right? And fixed signs, I should know, as an Aquarius, can be stubborn, right? And get really dead set on things and can be a bit immovable, right? The time that we are in right now, and especially this energy around the new moon, is inviting us, right? It will either invite or it will lovingly, somewhat forwardly nudge us into really questioning the ground that we've been standing on as a collective energy up until now, right? Doesn't this, look at this background here, look at this. Doesn't this look like it's breaching into a new age, a new dawn as it were, a new era, right? I want to draw your attention to this flaming sword here. You know, fire is about transformation, right? So the message coming through is very much about looking at yourself in terms of the past, right? Really looking to your past to fully inform your future and where you're going. Now, I do have a feeling where it's not about, you know, living in the past so much as letting it inform you moving forward. If you find yourself resistant to this idea, then that is a beautiful message and a source of, you know, a directive for you, right? Because it really is about the flow at this point in time. It's the flow. We are in a river, okay? And the river is a flowing and a going. And you can either choose to like be with that river and be a fish and move along that river, or you can choose to grab onto the nearest rock and hang on for dear life while the river keeps moving on without you. Now, what's going to happen? Eventually, you'll get tired, lose your grip, and the river will take you as where it's going anyway, right? I want you to think about what's going on collectively too, in terms of the news, what's happening from a political standpoint, an environmental standpoint, all of that. And in that context, really think about that image of the river and the word flow, okay? I'm hearing balancing act here, right? And the idea of balance, as it were. Balance is something that is very personal, okay? It's going to look and feel different for everybody, which also holds in it the wisdom that what works for you will not necessarily work for your neighbor or your loved ones, right? And instead of, and this is vice versa as well, right? You may have people in your atmosphere who do things a certain way and believe certain things, right? And it gives them a source of comfort because there's a routine in that and a familiarity in that. So if you're in a position where you see things differently, right, than either the majority of your family or your friend group or your work group or whatever have you, I feel like there is a call for discernment right now and allowing others to go at their own pace. Because look at this guy up here. He has clearly received the memo, right? He has received the memo. And the Wolverine comes in here to say that he's very sure of it and that it's come out of a lot of trial and error and stood the test of time. Okay, but there is this idea of there's going to be a group of the collective that is of this energy, right? Which is rising up from all of this, darkness and change and, environmental, tectonic plate shifting, as it were, right? That stand above and go forth, newly transformed by fire. And then there's also going to be members of a different sort of parallel collective who are not going to be of that grouping. And that is their own path, and it is more than okay. Okay, so that feels very pertinent. So let's go ahead and get some moon energy here. I'm using just a set of different decks today, and I feel like there's a message in that as well. Just about being willing to, despite how things have been or how things have always been done, quote, to really follow your feelings and your source of inspiration and directives on a moment-to-moment basis, okay? It feels like routine, any idea of routine, is becoming less and less beneficial, okay? For this moment in time, all right? Feels important. Be bold and make the first move with the cardinal moon here. So I want to point something out. The cardinal moon, this is also, I'm getting more of this fixed sign energy here, which of course makes sense with the Taurus new moon here. But be bold and make the first move. I want to draw a parallel here to this dude standing on top of this Wolverine here, right? Because the Wolverine is very much about action, but it's also about calculated action, right? Calculated action, but action that, despite what that action results in, despite said outcome of that action, there's no doubt on your end about whether it was the, quote, right thing to do or not, right? You followed the impetus, you followed the inspiration, and you took action. And that in itself is the reward, right? So it's about the impetus and the move to make that change, right? Deliver that message, make some shift in your life, and to be movable. The advice is to be movable, right? Allow yourself to be moved and changed and transformed, okay? Again, are you going to flow with the river? Or are you going to hold on to a rock? And are you going to move or be moved? That's the question, okay? Move or be moved, that is the question. Be bold and make the first move. Wouldn't you rather move in your own way of your own design, right? Wouldn't you rather do that? Such a beautiful message here. Really, really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Okay. Let's go ahead and get some oracles here. Oracles here. I'm also hearing don't compromise on yourself. Don't compromise on yourself. It very much feels like a time to get very secure and somewhat sure of what you desire and why you are here. Okay? It feels very much like the time to do that. But also, I'm getting a message around be mindful of other people's opinions, okay? Be mindful of social media. Be mindful of extremity, is what I'm hearing as well, okay? There's a lot of stimuli going around right now. There just is. There's a lot of stimuli going around. And there's this energy of extremity, right? So anyone that is embodying any source of extremity, and that can take a lot of different forms. That can come in the form of sensationalism, right? Like aspects of the news or even family members or friends that you talk to that say anything that feels very extreme. Be mindful of that. Because the call right now is to, I'm hearing an India Ari song, is like come back to the middle. From the middle is where we can see clearly. And again, think about that scale, the Egyptian scale there, right? And that balance, right? Beautiful Libra energy there of balance, right? Because it's like Lady Justice being, blind, right? It's that aspect of being able to see most clearly from the middle, right? Moderate, not extreme. It feels very, very important. Again, also be mindful of how you react from a guttural or intuitive place to anyone you're talking to any news, to any social media source, to even stuff that you watch on TV or movies, right? If something rises up in you that feels uncomfortable, instead of pushing it down or ignoring it or going, no, give it your attention and question that, and then ask yourself, what is coming up for me right now, and do I need to continue to engage in this, right? From a place of moderation and being in the middle, it's going to set you up in a way where you are most easily able to adapt on a moment-to-moment basis, check in with yourself, and then make any needed changes, right? Without judgment and without questioning it too much, right? Now it's about trusting what's coming up for you in a moment-to-moment way, okay? And I cannot stress this enough. You always know what's best for you. Always. And I invite you to question everything that you hear, right? Question absolutely everything, right? That way, when you hear or see something that gives you the truth shivers, the truth shivers, right? Or just feels true in your bone marrow, right? You'll be able to make that distinction more clearly because you took the time to discern what was coming up for you when the opposite feeling came, right? Yeah, I love that. So you got the Watchtower of the North here with winter. Now, this is really beautiful because this is being frozen, a moment in time, right? I want you to think about what the soil does, what happens to plant life when the winter comes. It doesn't die, right? It just takes a pause. It takes a moment to, go through some inner movement and stillness so that it can come back with the following season, which is spring. Right? So again, there is this feeling here. And again, even in this reading, look. Even in this reading, we have extremes here, right? Right? Move or be moved, we have this feeling of extremes. Because this is very much about action going forward, feeling very sure about where you are, being willing to set firm and loving boundaries with yourself and with others, right? In this time of number 5, great change, right? So that's action moving forward and heat and fire, right? And then you have this winter landscape here, which is a polar opposite energy, right? Of being still and going inside and being reflective and allowing yourself to build power and inspiration and directive so that when this fully thaws, right? Might be a quick thaw. You can be in this place where you just go bounding ahead. I'm getting that image of Athena, the goddess Athena, of how, Greek mythology says that she literally sprung out of Zeus's head, fully armed and ready for battle, right? And I don't want you to take that to mean it's like, time to go to battle, da-da-da-da-da. But it's rather that she sprung forth fully formed. She wasn't birthed like a human baby and then, grew up over the years. There's something to that. Think about that image about Athena literally springing fully formed, completely with her shield and sword and everything from Zeus's head. There's something to that. And remember, she represents the goddess of wisdom and inner wisdom, right? It's really, really beautiful. All right. Again, moderation, I keep hearing it. Moderation and in the middle. Anything that's of an extreme sentiment or feeling or mentality doesn't necessarily feel conducive to the flow of the river, honey. The best way I can think to say it. Honestly, oh my God, this is so stunning. Oh my gosh, look at this lusciousness. You're like, I can't, show it to me. Okay, here we go. So we have one of scrolls on track, guys. On track. One of scrolls on track. Okay. So we see this train. Are you seeing a theme here? Are you seeing the same theme I am here with the, right, the pre-board, right? Your train is now pre-boarding for departure, right? And this is the pre-board. So this dude here, right, is about to get on this train, and we have this beautiful train platform here along with this clock here as well. So on track, yes. Do you see how this is a foundation, and we've successfully identified our train? This new moon tomorrow in Taurus is inviting you as a lovely opportunity to go to your own personal train station of life and go, which train would I like to board? Because let me let you in on a little something, something, okay? Nothing is truly set in stone. Not anything at all. See all these different signs here and options here? That is our life, right? There are always going to be different trains as options for you. Always. Which is also why they say, and why it's true, that indecision or not making a decision is a decision. That's just a decision to not board a train and stand here in the middle and let the weeds grow, around you. And that's cool too, right? This is a time to choose your train, your own personal train. Getting very clear on that. I'm also getting a very distinct message. I feel Angel Gabriel coming through, which is the angel of communication and messages. I'm also feeling, consider the possibility that the train that you have previously been on may or may no longer be your best train or your most desirable train. There has been transformation that has been happening here. Okay? And now it is time, if you so choose, right? Because we are our choices. For real, right? You're being invited and given the opportunity as a collective to really discern and say, which is my train? Is it the one I've already been on? If that's so, great. Let's upgrade it. Right? Let's get the more comfortable cushions and let's update the candy cart. I'm always going to go back to the Hogwarts Express. Hello, right? Or dare to imagine that it could be a different train. Or a train on a different track, your same train on a different track. You're being invited to get very specific about your train because this is the pre-boarding. How exciting. Okay, and then it leads to this, which I'm completely obsessed with. Up in the air. Up in the air. Doesn't this make you think of Wizard of Oz? It makes me think of Wizard of Oz for sure. This hot air balloon aspect here, I want to draw your attention to the perspective here, right? Because perspective is coming in loud and clear here. I also want to point out that 1 + 8 = 9. 9 has been such a relevant number coming up so much, as well as 5. It's been 5 and 9 and 11. So 9 is about endings before the 10 can happen, which is a completion, which takes us back to the beginning of 1 in terms of the tarot, right? And the birth of a new cycle, right? So think about this in terms of the pre-board is the 9 energy, getting on the train is the 10, and then the train leaving the station reverts back to 1, or you can up it to 11, whatever really works for you, right? Think about it in those terms, right? Are you seeing things differently? Are you willing to see things differently? Think about this. They are standing on the earth and the soil here, right? Looking at this hot air balloon that is in the air, right? Now, you know how I say that, be an air sign about things and be a bird up here and look at things from that bird's eye view? I'm kind of loving that this is coming across this way because, again, this new moon in Taurus is feeling very much about being grounded and planting your feet and connecting downward into the soil, because from doing that, right? From doing that, it's going to give you a sense of confidence and clarity so that you can view everything else that's going on from a more grounded yet simultaneously higher perspective. Isn't that interesting? That by becoming grounded, you're able to achieve a more fully realized aerial perspective. Ooh, I just got shivers. That by becoming more grounded, you're able to achieve a more fully realized aerial perspective. Ooh, that's some stuff though. That's some stuff though. I want to point out that this looks like, to me, it looks like dawn. And I've also been getting a message around new dawn coming in a lot, like almost every day. New dawn. Pre-boarding, pre-launch, right? To the just launched, to the sticking of the landing, darling, with the Ark of the Covenant. I really like how it's successive. I really like it so much. So the Ark of the Covenant, this is such a beautiful energy. First of all, I want to draw your, 11, master number, beautiful. The Ark of the Covenant, I want to draw your attention to the fire here and to the fire here, right? Remember when we were talking about the Wolverine with the fire of transformation? Right? There's something here, right? Energy, build up. So the Ark of the Covenant is very much about sacred knowledge. See these other fires here too, sacred knowledge. I'm really drawn to the fact that these two people here are dressed, not exactly the same, but are dressed very similarly. And it does very much feel like they are sharing knowledge and stories. You know how in the past, in the days of old, the practice was to gather around the fire, right? The campfire. And it was an oral tradition of sharing stories, right? I'm getting this sense, this beautiful energy of a return to the time of the pre-industrial revolution. In a sense, I'm not saying that all technology is going to go, I'm not saying that. That would be an extreme point of view. Okay, again, please hear me when I say any extremity right now from whatever source is to be questioned and considered. or considered questionably or questionably considered, something like in that realm. I'm telling you. But it feels like there is this call to return back to nature and how things were prior to the Industrial Revolution. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? It means a slower pace. It means the opposite of rushing. Right? See how nobody's on a cell phone here? Nobody's on a cell phone. And I'm hearing sacred knowledge, ancient wisdom. It feels like a time of returning to, that aspect of ourselves, right? That remembers. I'm getting that sense of, have you ever had a moment where you're like, you say a fact or you just know something, you're like, how did I know that? How did I know that? That's the feeling that I get here from the Ark of the Covenant, right? This is about sacred knowledge, wisdom, coming together collectively to talk through what we've learned and not just talking about it. But okay, this is what we've learned. Now, what changes are we going to happily implement moving forward as a result of what we've learned? Right? Daring to do things differently. Back to this Wolverine energy here. Back to this cardinal moon here, right? daring to do things differently. Now, let me reemphasize. Not everybody is going to board this train, right? It's not a double-decker, honey. Not everybody is going to board this train, and it's okay. And there might be aspects of realization, right, around this time where it's, I love you and I see you and I hold you in my heart and I am with you, but I realize that I am going into this time where I'm looking at what the status quo has been and going, well, the status quo got us to where we are and the shakeup that we're collectively experiencing. I'm looking to a future that takes into account the benefit and the medicine of a slower pace, of a moment-to-moment existence, with an eye on the greater good and the nurturing of Mother Gaia, right? Again, I keep getting this image of, pre-industrial revolution. Okay, they want me to talk more about that. What did the Industrial Revolution do for us? As a civilization, I mean. Of course, it had different effects in different places at different times, right? The Industrial Revolution, what did it really do? I mean, just overall, what's the first thing you think of? It sped things along, right? It made things, quote, easier, more convenient, right? It also provided a lot of new stimuli, right? We could even say, lovingly, distractions, right? How did we get from gathering around the fire and listening to each other, grounding ourselves, right, with no distractions, to being on our cell phones while dinner is on the stove, while the TV plays in the background, while the laundry's going? There's nothing wrong with any of that, News at 9. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But do you see and do you feel the difference in the extremes? And could we be called here moving forward to come to a middle ground between the two, right? And I want you to consider, too, the word progress. Consider what progress is and looks like. What do you think progress is? And not just for yourself, but collectively as well. What will progress look like, truly look like, moving forward? Something to think about. See how this whole foundation, and it's these questions that are coming up, and really looking at systems of what has and has not worked to inform you going forward so that you can more clearly see what is and is not functional, beneficial, and medicinal, right? Move or be moved. Let's get some extras here. Oh my gosh, stunning. Oh God, yes. Yes. Oh my Lord. Okay. These are so beautiful. Wow. Wow. Okay. Look at all these little babies. Oh my God. Y'all. That is something else. There's this energy of succession here with one thing leading to another, one right after the other. There's something about that lining up in that way. Oh God. Okay. 6, 7, 8, first of all. So we have the clouds here with the number 6. Clouds. We have the snake, number 7. We have the coffin, number 8. Look at the sun streaming through that coffin there. I'm so obsessed. And the garden. Do you see what I see? Song is very much in my head. Okay, clouds, but also wind here, right? The winds of change. The clouds here, the darkness. If you think about it, clouds obscure the light, right? And when light is filtered through the clouds, it's more pronounced, right? Do you see the mirror image here? The clouds here speaks of a time to gain clarity, okay? Amidst a lot of confusion. There's just a lot of stimuli, right? So this is really about transmuting the cloud energy however and whatever context it comes up for you. And I'm talking about on a moment-to-moment basis. I'm not even talking about on a day-to-day. I'm talking about on a moment-to-moment basis, right? It's about clarity. Quick tip. For me personally, clarity is best achieved through connecting with my breath, right? And meditation. I used to have an old teacher who used to say, redemption is only ever a breath away. And that's true. Redemption is only ever a breath away. I also want to draw your attention to this aerial perspective here as well. It feels really important, again, with the ground energy here as well. As above, so below, I'm hearing magician energy for sure. So look at this beautiful snake energy here. Really, really lovely. So you see how this cobra here, and what is this? What is that, a gopher? Lord knows, a gopher. You know, snakes absolutely represent healing energy, transformation, the shedding of the skin. When a snake sheds its skin, that's when it's most vulnerable to predators. Its eyes get all cloudy and clouded over, and then it emerges from that with a brand new skin, able to see more clearly. Right? This is also about knowing when to be still, knowing when to strike, knowing when to retain that venom and when to distribute it, right? One of you guys, one of my beautiful subscribers just left me a message about deciding when to distribute and retain the venom. So I love that's coming up here now. It's really beautiful. I'm also getting this feeling of protection as well, that always, because Isis very much corresponds to cobra and snake energy for me as well. There is this beautiful feeling of protecting the more vulnerable aspects of yourself. Again, it's the same message I keep getting about being very cognizant about the stimuli coming towards you, being very aware and keeping your perspective by remaining grounded. Right? You know what's best. Be mindful and careful of giving away your power or what you know to be true to someone else in any context. Whether it's because they sound like they know what they're talking about, which they do in their own way, right? Each perspective is valid. But there's this feeling here of trusting what you know to be true above all else, which is different than being in your ego, right? Listening to your own inner wisdom is different than being in your ego, right? Coffin. Back to this winter energy here of being frozen in place and using this time to regenerate before rising up fully formed, right? Before boarding and taking off on that train, right? Do you see these tree roots here? Tree roots. Oh, number 9. Remember when I said number 9 was pertinent? I like that it's the 8 to the 9. There's something here again, and I just did a post about this on Instagram, _lady_crow_ about, because I got the image of a garden in that reading, so I feel like they're very much holding hands. This is very much the, imagine a gymnast, right? A gymnast who sets themselves up before they run off, do their trick in the air, and then they stick the landing, right? This is very much the crouch down or the readying or the rooting down before the takeoff, right? And you can use this time in whatever way benefits you, as long as you are dictating on a personal basis what and how that looks like. It's very, very, very important, okay? I want you to think about something. Let's say that you wake up and you're feeling good energy and you've meditated or not, you're just feeling grounded, you're feeling in your own energy, you're going at your own pace, and then you see something on the news that says something really scary, really doomsday, really scary, and then suddenly you feel different immediately. You feel fear, you feel something rise up in your tummy, you feel anxiety, right? That's what I'm talking about here. That's what I'm talking about. The more committed you are to grounding and trusting what you feel to be true, the more easily and quickly you will be able to discern mistruths, right, of an extreme nature as they come up, okay? And I do want to say to you, going back to this beautiful garden energy here, look at how absolutely stunning this is. Look at how stunning this is. This is the time that we are upon. Okay? This is the time that we are upon. I feel like you know it and feel it to be true if you're watching this. Hope is a very powerful thing. And I also feel like it's one of the first things to get a little weeble wobbly, especially for my empaths out there, as you're picking up a lot of the collective fear and disillusion, and just really consider the source of it. See it for what it is. Again, you do that by grounding. By grounding yourself, you'll be able to get that aerial perspective, those counter energies that I'm tapping into here. And this really is about, again, back to this foundation, getting that really firm, because this is the time that we're going to. I also want to point one last thing out here. Doesn't this look like it's the time before the Industrial Revolution? Do you see how there's this like lovely big giant man back here kind of looking at all these, younger souls here? I'm getting a very Six of Cups energy from this, okay? Which is about nostalgia, soul connections, wistfulness, looking back to a time where things were a lot less complicated. There's a renewal and a garden energy that's coming through here, and it's really, really beautiful. And I do have a distinct feeling that the majority of you watching this are going, oh my God, I've been feeling that. I've been feeling that. I knew that, and I totally know that. Right? It's just about reminding yourself of it as the need arises, right? Because we are human. And again, it's like I said at the beginning of this, really getting this message around. This is about remembering what we already know to be true. Remembering what we already feel to be true, right? And we are entering into a time of a brand new garden, right? And it's really, really beautiful. Nary a cell phone in sight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a time of connection to self, so that we may, on the other side of this, in the light of the sun, right, come together and share collectively, right? It's really, 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 really beautiful. Whoa, this felt like a journey. This is the collective new moon in Taurus reading. This is the first sort of collective moon reading I've really ever done for the channel, but I felt so called to do this today. Please let me know how and if this resonated with you. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you want more of these collective readings. Holler at a lady crow and let her know. And with that being said, just thank you so, so much for being here. I appreciate and love every single one of you. I am here for you. I'm here for you. My email is going to be in the description box below this. I'm available for readings as well, booking through the month of May. I am here. I'm of service. I love you. Connect with me. Share with me. Let's be together. And with that being said, as always, thank you for being you, and be well. Until next time.